Great. So firstly, just a bit about me. So yeah, I'm principal search strategist at Sunty. My background is actually more SEO, so I'm surprised I was allowed in the room. But hey, um, I get involved in data activity across marketing for Sunty, and Sunty is a modern headless CMS and more. So I basically work in house at Sunty. Um, if you do fancy checking it out, please go ahead. But I'm not going to speak about it too much in this presentation. But what I'm going to speak about is LinkedIn activity and linking it with sales. So firstly, a bit of context about why I'm talking to you about that. So 40% of B2B advertisers say they get quality leads from LinkedIn, and that's usually via lead form formats, and they get LinkedIn leads directly from the platform. But it feels like we're not getting the full value, and it's not being captured. So it's a bit worse than your click-through rate that you mentioned, Rachel. And I don't know if it's just because it's bad ads, but the average on the platform is around 0.08%. And it feels like you're actually getting people seeing your ads a lot on the platform itself, but they're not clicking through, and therefore you're not actually able to track the impact of your ads a lot of the time. You're actually educating people. They're making a decision further down the line via seeing your ads, and you don't actually know that. So wouldn't it be great if we could link your sales with LinkedIn ads impressions? So I'm going to walk you through a process which is threefold. So firstly, extracting the data via LinkedIn ads, then analyzing the impact on sales, and then analyzing the impact on website behavior, which is kind of an extra layer, which you might find useful. So starting at extracting the data. So you can get some insights about who's seen your ads via the UI, but it's only part of the story, so it's only really kind of a fraction of the data that you can get. So you don't get all businesses, it's pretty truncated. You don't get ad level insight for what businesses have actually seen. You don't get a daily breakdown very easily either. So how do we actually do better? So if you get up and running with the LinkedIn API, you can get so much more. It's a treasure trove. So you can get data on all businesses that have seen your ads. You can get ad level insight about what actual ads they've seen. And you can get a daily breakdown as well. So if you do fancy getting started with the LinkedIn Ads API, ChatGPT can walk you through it. You just ask it, how do I get started? Though it's not necessarily the best, so I have given you some code here as a starter as well with all the different metrics you can get. And this link takes you through to Google Colab, and it's got various different metrics, probably about 30, 40 different metrics from the API that you can get. And then just in terms of some tips, so you actually have to fill out a form to get access to the API. So you have to tell LinkedIn why you're wanting to use it. So I just said that I'm using it for an internal analytics app, and that was fine. The application took around a day to confirm, and you just get an email saying that you've got access. And then once you've got access, you need to generate a token, but actually sometimes the URL is quite hard to find, so I've linked to it here for you in case it's convenient. And then this is the kind of thing that you'll get. So you'll get each organization, you'll get what campaign they've seen or what creative they've seen. You'll get a day-by-day breakdown of impressions, video starts, video completions, reactions, clicks, all sorts of different metrics at the organization and day level. So now you've got the data. It's about analyzing the impact on sales. So you need your data from your CRM platform to do that. So for example, Salesforce. But a key problem that you'll find is that the company names probably don't match up. So in LinkedIn, it'll be called something like Great Company. On Salesforce, it might be called Great Company Group PLC. Obviously, that's been quite optimistic that it is a great company. But in order to solve this, you can use a fuzzy matching algorithm. So you just put this between the two systems, say that you want to count a 90% ratio match of being kind of the same company, and then it will match up the companies that probably are the same across both platforms. And then here's a link to a fuzzy matching algorithm in case you want to put that in place and give it a test. Again, that takes you through to Google Colab. So now you've got your LinkedIn ads data connected to your sales data. You can start to answer some important questions. So for example, do video ad impressions have a greater impact on sales? So that's the kind of thing that you can start to think about. And to answer this, you can use machine learning. And the way that you use it is basically use the label data. So you'll have for each account in LinkedIn, all the impressions, all the different features you want to look at. So it could be ad format, it could be a particular ad. And then you have that for all your clients and also people that didn't become a client. You have a similar number for each. And you can teach a machine learning model to distinguish between the two. And it will then be able to decide, right, based on this new data, this person is more likely to become a sale, this one isn't. And then you can actually find out how it's learned that. So what are the kinds of things it's looked at in order to learn whether someone's going to become a sale? So you can extract the features that it would look at. So it might look at video ad impressions in particular as something that it needs to look at to decide whether someone's going to become a sale. So you kind of basically work with the machine. So going back to the theme this morning of it's kind of you becoming enlightened based on machine learning or AI rather than it taking over. But you need the data to be in the right format for that. So this is the kind of format that you need. So you need for each client, you need the impressions for all the different features you want to look at. So it could be format, it could be particular ad, and then at the end, whether they became a sale or not. And obviously this is a bit basic, like you might want to look at different parts of the sales process. But yeah, this is just kind of hopefully kind of giving you an idea of the kind of data format that you need. And then you can just ask ChatGPT's code interpreter to guide you through the training process. So things are a lot easier nowadays with respect to that. So you just upload the data, and this is just an example prompt that you can use. So you want to train a machine learning model to distinguish between sales and non-sales, and then tell you what the most important features were that it looked at. So in case anyone hasn't heard of ChatGPT's code interpreter, so it's available in the paid version. You switch it on in the settings, and then you have to choose to use it in the plugin dropdown, and it's called Advanced Data Analysis now. And it's just really useful for analyzing data, and you can even upload PowerPoints and get it to read PowerPoints and summarize them and things like that. So it is really useful. But a problem you'll usually find is it runs out of memory. And this is probably keeping us in the job as well. It constantly runs out of memory as you go through the process, especially with a lot of data. So that is me crying usually, because it's usually at a really important point in the process as well. It'll suddenly say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't go any further. But in order to go further, you can just get it to give you the code and walk you through step by step, and you can run it in Google Colab instead. And then this is a post on my website about training a machine learning model called XGBoost, and then finding out what the most important features were, just in case you find it useful. And then this is what you get at the end of it. So you get an idea of what the most important features are that it's looked at in order to make the prediction as to whether someone's going to become a sale. So in this case, and this is just dummy data, you can see that video-based ad impressions were more important in terms of making that prediction. So therefore, you want to do more of that, potentially. And then also conducting timer-based analysis is also really useful as well. So actually kind of thinking about when the sale happened or when a particular part of the sales process happened, what happened just before that in terms of impressions, that can also be really useful. So that's the first two parts of the process. So extracting the data, linking it to sales. What about analyzing impact on website behavior? But why would you want to do that if you've already connected to sales? Well, what if you don't actually have many sales? So you need a certain amount of data in order to train the machine learning model so it has a certain degree of accuracy. And if you've only got a small number of sales, let's say 100, you need 100 non-sales, it's not actually much data. You're not going to train a very accurate model. So you want more volume for the more volume of data for the model. And going further up the funnel gives you that more data. So obviously you've got more visits and conversions and sales, on your website. So to do this, you need to figure out which accounts are active on your website. So you can use an IP enrichment service for that. So basically find out kind of what account someone is from, and then again match it up with a fuzzy matching algorithm, so you know that the same person who is active on your website, the same company has potentially seen your ads on LinkedIn. And then there are a number of services to choose from in terms of IP lookups, and this is just a selection. They have very different purposes though. So demand-based and Sixth Sense are more account-based marketing. And they'll do the IP enrichment, but also activation as well. So they'll allow you to personalize your website based on the accounts that are going to the website. And Clearbit's more kind of just data enrichment, so that will do the IP enrichment, but won't do the activation part. Clearbit has a free tier for testing, so it actually does 30 lookups for you free per week, which might be useful if you want to set up that process for actually seeing and making sure that it works. So now the question changes. It changes from do ad impressions have a greater impact on sales to do ad impressions have a greater impact on website visits or conversions. But which website conversions actually work best for measuring LinkedIn success? And as people that know that advertise on LinkedIn, you're usually targeting particular job titles. So you might be looking for people with developer in their job title or director in their job title. And ideally, you want to measure the success of that job title targeting. So website behavior segments can really help with this. So if you know that someone has gone on your website and spent a lot of time in the documentation, you've got a technical product, then maybe they're more likely to be a developer. If they've gone on pricing and looked at some high-level content, they might be more likely to be a director. And to do this, you need to cluster people by content they visit and try and find common patterns. So you can get distinct behavioral patterns, and then map it back to your LinkedIn titles. So I did a presentation about this at MeasureFest in 2021. So here's a link to that in case you're interested in that in more detail. And you can also get some starter code from my website as well. So I've got a guide about how to perform clustering in Python, which you might find useful. And then just to say that behavior clustering is so much easier with GA4. So I definitely recommend if you've got GA4 obviously now set up, you need to link it to BigQuery so you can do this. So if you haven't got it linked to BigQuery and you link it up now, you don't get backdated data. So the sooner you link up GA4 to BigQuery, the better. And the reason why it's better for this is it's events-based, and it means you can more easily create kind of a bit of a matrix about where people have been on your website by all the different URLs they've been to. So it's so much better for clustering than Universal Analytics was. So now you can do the same analysis that you did for the sales, but actually using your conversions instead. So the format needs to be the same, and you can use ChatGPT just like before. So similar prompts. You can do time-based analysis with ChatGPT as well with the code interpreter. So basically doing exactly the same. So that's kind of the three parts of the process, but I also just wanted to talk quickly about a couple of things that you can do to take this even further. So if you've got an idea about which kinds of ads or which messaging do really well on LinkedIn for sales, how do you use that potentially for other channels? How can you use that for PPC ads, for example? Where can you take those other learnings? You can also add extra channels to your analysis as well. So you know the IP, via the IP lookup, what accounts have been on your website, and therefore you know whether they come via other channels as well. So you can add them as features to that machine learning model training that I mentioned. And also, I mentioned about demand-based and Sixth Sense, which are account-based marketing tools, and they do activation as well as the IP enrichment. And part of that activation is actually pushing accounts within different funnel stages that you define into LinkedIn. So you can define particular funnel stages and say if someone's behaved in a certain way on your website, they are top of funnel or middle funnel or bottom of the funnel. And then you can push that to LinkedIn, and then you can target ads to those accounts accordingly. So the website behavior targeting kind of analysis that I mentioned can be used to set up those funnel stages. So it can give you a deeper understanding of how people behave, and then you can use that to push to LinkedIn to improve your LinkedIn ad performance. So let's sum up. So LinkedIn might have more value than you realize. Getting set up with LinkedIn API is an absolute must. You can analyze whether LinkedIn ad impressions may have led to sales without clicks or interactions, or even if LinkedIn ad impressions have led to website visits or website conversions. Some really useful website conversions in the context of LinkedIn ads are behavior segments. GA4 provides a much better platform to do behavior analysis, but you need to set up the BigQuery connection ASAP to take advantage of that. And in general, ChatGPT's code interpreter can really help with any analysis that you need. And I think people have only really explored a fraction of what that's actually capable of. And then finally, just say there's a full guide available step by step for this whole presentation that's available on my website as well. So that was me, and thank you very much.